Abushama Kwaba Edoba GH Nation TV. So minority leader Atimi Akika and Sembi Alpha vetting committee chairman
in Article 78(1), the Appointments Committee of Parliament met to consider the vetting of 3 ministerial nominees for the positions of Finance Minister Designate, Energy Minister Designate, and Minister for Justice and Attorney General Designate. By the practice of the House, these nominees could have been waited for about 3 weeks to enable the committee to obtain comments from the public. However, in the interest of national development, we waived the privilege to allow the process to proceed. We cooperated with the majority side for a smooth process. However, there are a few observations that we made during the process that we feel obliged to share with the general public. I shall share some of the general overviews.
Vetting committee chairman or a bias na in summer minority leader Atimi Akika ni de chese in summer no aye di anka say ye onum say minority leader Atimi aka kire e mafo a chese operation recover all loot operation all for no ye invite omo so mo ye investigation about them no minority leader Atimi aka to say omo ntimi boycott meeting
advice from the minority is to boycott any invitation from the other team. We are not going to be part of it because we believe that there are constitutionally established bodies that can investigate any so-called misdeeds of the government. What are they doing? What they are doing is to go about disturbing people, entering homes, taking vehicles, seizing vehicles, and more or less taking over lands from people who have genuinely purchased land. What the former government officials have done is to acquire properties that legally they were acquired. No illegality has taken place. In any case, the NDC, their members have also acquired lands in this country. The executives, they live in the cantonment, they live in the airport, they live in their childhoods, lands which were government lands, which they bought many years ago. The people of Ghana should not tolerate this order, which is out there to only persecute the former government officials. Thank you very much.
No, just say, and somebody they are no ID. I wish you will put this answer more in and before I comment or say, so subscribe to YouTube channel we are, over subscribe on like, no comment, no share. The way me update Biana will be given now watch share. I wish as it starts now on it, Ghana, I share. When you say, President Atimi are nominating the ministerial positions, no, I'm say no, a no man, ye vetting. Now, minority leader Atimi at the shocking in Sembi Atimi Ababetoja, what Timi Akan say, Chamaya, or ye. Chama Edman committee way a bias na in some way candidate in some no at Busha, you could use some way embra.
In Article 78(1), the Appointments Committee of Parliament met to consider the vetting of 3 ministerial nominees for the positions of Finance Minister Designate, Energy Minister Designate, and Minister for Justice and Attorney General Designate. By the practice of the House, these nominees could have been waited for about 3 weeks to enable the committee to obtain comments from the public. However, in the interest of national development, we waived the privilege to allow the process to proceed. We cooperated with the majority side for a smooth process. However, there are a few observations that we made during the process that we feel obliged to share with the general public. I shall share some of the general overviews. The notice of the nominations was received by the Right Honorable Speaker on January 9, 2024, and was subsequently referred to the Appointments Committee. Acting in good faith, the minority fully committed to the process. This commitment stemmed from our desire to ensure that President John Dramani Mahama had the opportunity to shape his government without delay. Nonetheless, we expected that the members and friends of the committee would be given sufficient questioning time to examine every matter in detail. Unfortunately, this was not the case. Members of the committee were not provided with the CVs of the nominees ahead of the voting. When they were eventually served with the CVs during the voting, the chairman did not allow for the examination of those CVs as preliminary issues, as had been the practice in the past. The deliberate refusal to provide the CVs of the nominees to committee members in advance, and the refusal to invite questions on the CVs were all calculated attempts to obstruct constructive and effective scrutiny of the nominees. Ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of the Appointments Committee was the first real obstacle to a diligent vetting of the ministerial nominees. He denied the Ghanaian people and the minority members of the committee the opportunity to conduct a thorough vetting of the nominees. He was protective of the nominees and extremely partisan. We would like to know how the minister-designate plans to make up for the revenue shortfalls that will arise as a result of the tax cuts. The minister's quick response was cuts in expenditure. While we believe expenditure cuts could be a possible way to match revenue with expenses in order not to run into fiscal deficits, it is not in itself the ultimate solution to address revenue shortfalls. On the matter of expenditure cuts, the minister-designate fell short in providing clarity on which aspects of government expenditure he intends to cut. Is it salaries, interest payments, or capital expenditure? Would the minister-designate's expenditure cuts affect teacher trainee allowances, nursing trainee allowances, free senior high school, the livelihood empowerment against poverty, subsidy on fertilizer for farmers? Will they affect the school feeding program? Will they affect salaries of government workers? Is it going to affect improvement in conditions of service for teachers, health professionals, security officers, and all essential service providers? Is it going to affect infrastructure in the road sector, education sector, health sector, and agriculture sector? Is it going to affect ongoing road projects? Is it going to affect youth employment? Is it going to affect social safety nets for the Ghanaian people? Ghanaians need to know. The minister-designate's unconvincing responses regarding how he intends to make up for the revenue shortfalls leave us with no choice but to think that he will scrap these taxes but introduce new ones, perhaps more draconian than those he would scrap. We cannot give with his right hand and take back with his left hand.